Welcome back to the channel. So for a while now we've known that according to Frontier, the next Jurassic World Evolution game will come with two features the Frontier claim have been very requested within the community. This has led to a large range of opinions on what these features might be. However, we also were told in the investor pitch that Jurassic World Evolution 3 won't differ greatly from Jurassic World Evolution 2. So what do I think these two features might be? Well, let's start with what I think it won't be. So first on this list is a map or island generator. Many folks who think this is a possibility point to Jurassic Park Operation Genesis's island generator. But as someone who played JPOG, let me present 2 points. Firstly, JPOG's map generator fucking sucked. A square or circle of land with haphazard mountains and water. It wasn't exactly a great generator. Even older games had better ones. Secondly, in recent decades, very few games of this city or park building genre have map generators within them. Most tend to rely on carefully crafted maps. A carefully crafted map will always look better and play better than a map generated one, primarily because you can have extremes and include elements that the generator couldn't handle. It also makes maps useful to have and a selling point, and it makes expansion DLCs a lot more relevant to us, especially the sandbox builders if they come with new maps. Finally, given that none of Frontier's current games have generators, I find it unlikely they would create one specifically for Jurassic World Evolution 3. Next on the list of things that I think won't be coming is placeable deep water. One of the reasons why I doubt that this is coming is because it would need a significant reworking of the game's terrain system and the terrain tools. As with people asking for babies, more on this later, placeable deep water requires a lot more than just simply adding a deep water brush. Also required is how that deep water brush interacts with the landmass and how it interacts with the placeable normal shallow water that we currently have. Then on top of that is how the animals will then need all the animation rigging to interact with the placeable deep water, meaning more animations required for the animals. Moreover, as I stated in my retrospective review, the water in Jurassic World Evolution does not actually behave like water, and if you want dinosaurs to be able to swim and interact with that water, you need to be able to model buoyancy, something we know that the Lagoons don't even do right now, so they'd need to reinvent the entirety of the water system in the game. All in all, I think it's too much work for Frontier to be bothered with. Next up is babies, or at least a full suite of dinosaur growth and reproduction. Again, like the water situation, I think it brings in far too much work for Frontier to be willing to do. I do think we might get some baby models of certain animals, but a full reproduction system with babies for all species and growing up mechanics, it would require a complete rework of the dinosaur environmental needs system, new models, new animations, new rigging, and again I think it's just too much work for Frontier. In my eyes, there are 3 features that I think are strong candidates for being the key Jurassic World Evolution 3 features. Please note that these are not necessarily features I personally want, but the ones I think Frontier would have been looking at. The first is a overhaul to the Lagoon decoration system to provide us terrain brushes that we can use inside the lagoons. I see this as a relatively easy thing for them to do with the current terrain tools. You just create a brush that works in the opposite way to the current terrain brushes and create some lagoon vegetation for it to spawn. Lagoon terrain modification has been requested for a while, and given how easy it would be to implement, I think it makes quite a lot of sense. This could also include some new sand or rock textures to paint on the insides as well, in the same way as the vegetation. The second feature I think is possible is a total overhaul of the scientist system, possibly to incorporate more staff or greater management features like they have in the Planet series. Changes to this system were called for from day one, with the scientist system being one of the biggest, most complained about features all over reviews and forum posts. Frontier already demonstrated with the second game that adding more management is something they do consider when making new games, so I think it's possible that the third game will overhaul the system again in order to alleviate some of the huge number of complaints about the system that they got. The third feature that I think is a possibility from the game's launch is the inclusion of Cenozoic animals. Cenozoic animals have been asked for by the community for a while, and even more so after the inclusion of the Megalodon. Unlike the previous two features I commented on, Cenozoic animals would provide a very clear, obvious feature that can be shown off in trailers, both pre-rendered and gameplay trailers, and get people interested in the game straight away. I also think that the addition of Cenozoic animals is a relatively simple process, and it wouldn't take many animals to have a significant effect on the game's roster. I personally think all three of these options match what we've been hearing from by Frontier, that they are making highly requested changes, and I would argue all three of the things I've suggested have been highly requested, and I don't think they are hugely significant alterations in compared to Jurassic World Evolution 2, which suits what they've told investors. I don't see massive changes here. Basically all I see here is fiddling around with or building onto the features that Jurassic World Evolution 2 already has, as opposed to introducing elements that would require complete changes all over the board. Something that I think the Jurassic community suffers from a lot is toxic positivity and toxic optimism. The idea that the franchise, both films and games, are beyond criticizing is something I've seen for years. When it comes to specifically the games, I think people give Frontier far too much leniency given some of what they've pulled in recent years. Let's remember that Jurassic World Evolution 1 launched in a very content lacking way with minimal content and features, and took its full development cycle to feel complete. Jurassic World Evolution 2 launched day one full of bugs, also content lacking and full of half-complete features, and remains to this day still full of bugs. Personally, when it comes to Jurassic World Evolution 3, I think those that think that Frontier will add huge changing features need to look at Frontier's history with the Jurassic games, and especially with the recent Planet Coaster 2 game. I'm not saying that people can't be optimistic about what might be coming to Jurassic World Evolution 3, but I think again there's a danger of the community ending up disappointed, having these grandiose expectations which Frontier fails to meet. I think when it comes to what we're hypothesizing about Jurassic World Evolution 3, I think it's important to be reasonable with our expectations and maybe trying to avoid being toxically optimistic. But that's just my view. So that was my thoughts on what Jurassic World Evolution 3 features I think are likely to come. Let me know in the comments if you agree or disagree and what features you think are likely. Also, don't forget to like, comment, and if you're new to the channel, subscribe for my views on any Jurassic World Evolution 3 news, when we finally get some. Until next time, stay safe and goodbye.